Hello. How is everybody doing tonight or today? It's today. It's not nighttime. It feels like it should be nighttime because I've been up since super early. But hey, Chaotic, Crimezilla, Angel Bear, Ivy Rose. Good to see you. Justice Served Daily, Hope Diamond. Glad you guys are all here. I just figured I would go over some of the things that I have found unclear, as far as it's hard to read every single thing that's out there. But these seem to be like predominantly being put in chats and just kind of misinformation on some of them and not really understanding Indiana criminal procedure and law, which, I'm not a lawyer. I've never claimed to be anything like that, but we can read, I can read. So it's pretty simple to find out the answer that you're seeking, especially with the World Wide Web that is available to all of us. But I don't want to delay because I have a lot to get to. I didn't put it in the description, so it'll kind of have to be added, but I would like to take a moment to talk about some names that I'm still seeing coming up, like Ron Logan and Kegan Klin. While with Kegan Klin, I have heard some very astute, very good arguments for why he is still involved. I'm going to try really hard not to have an opinion, but I'm sure you guys will see my confirmation bias come out at some point in the next couple hours. It is human nature, and I'm going to try really hard to give a unbiased look at. I can't really say that with Ron Logan just because I think it's pretty out there to even why there's even a question, but I'm going to try. And then Kegan Klin as well. And then we have BG, Bridge Guy, Richard Matthew Allen. And so, yeah, I'm going to get started. We're just going to go over some of the things that I have been looking into myself. So let me Ron Logan. Okay. So we have, what we know we have, and what everybody can read is the search warrant affidavit that was submitted by the FBI agent requesting a search warrant be issued, that they could take that warrant and they could use that affidavit to procure a search warrant and then go to his house and search it along with his vehicle. Okay. So one of the things that I've been seeing is that it says in there that there's evidence of a homicide. First of all, of course, that's what it says. Of course, the FBI agent wrote that. Why? Because it's a search warrant affidavit for Ron's property. It's for his property, okay? So a search warrant would definitely state that, that they believe. That's the key word in that search warrant, that she believes that there is evidence of a homicide at his property. That's just the way it works. You list why you believe the judge should grant the search warrant. So, of course, they think that if they are wanting the judge to even consider a search warrant for property and vehicle, which is property, then they must therefore ascertain that there is proof that will be found inside of this residence that would link this individual to the crime. Okay, so it goes on. She says that the killer of Abby and Libby would have gotten blood on their clothing. So there's the difference, the killer of Abby and Libby. So these are just things, if you're reading through the affidavit, you're going to notice. And she believes that would be the blood in his vehicle or residence. Let us search for that, Judge. That's what we want to search for, that. And that same goes for the weapon that was used during the commission of the crime. Let us search for that. Okay. And then she says that he lives 1,400 feet from the crime scene. So again, they're trying to establish probable cause for this search warrant. He lives close. He has the physique. That is the next thing that is mentioned. And his voice is not inconsistent. Inconsistent. So again, not saying that it is she just believes. Let us look for the item of one of the victims that was missing from them at the crime scene. So it talks about an item that was missing off of one of the victims and was not found in the crime scene area. Let us go to his house and look for that, because that would definitely, if he had a souvenir or if they found Abby and Libby's blood inside of his residence, then they would have probable cause to arrest. But this is just the probable cause for the search warrant. There's a big difference. Then she goes on to say, let us look for the fibers and hairs that were found on one of the victims. Let us go look for those fibers and hairs and see if we can come up with a match of fibers and hairs that are inside of his residence. Let us look for that. Let us test his knives and any weapon that was not already looked at in the other search warrant. Because that search warrant was very specific and they saw them there, but could not do anything about it because they didn't have the search warrant for that. So they went back to the judge, and this is what they asked for. We saw these things in there. Let us go in and test them. Let us look for the murder weapon. You can sign off on this because it is suspect that Ron Logan said he did not think evidence would lead them to his property. So again, he's saying he said this to one of the detectives that told her, he's like, I don't think you would find any evidence on my property. Again, that does not mean that just because he doesn't think, a million things could be going through your head at that time. Like, I don't think so, but like, what if someone came and hid something on my property? And then, I don't think that can be used against him the way that it has been used against him. It simply does not say what everyone is inferring that it says. Sign off on this, judge, because he lied about his alibi. He called his relative before the girls were found. Now, that one is definitely a little suspect, but he only asked for the relative to give an alibi for the time of the girls and not in his morning trip to the transfer station he drove to. All sworn to be the truth by the relative that has already lied for him. Okay, so just take that into consideration. Let us search because he has people who say he's violent and carries a gun. Ron carried a gun in a fanny pack, so says another person. This person says that he looks like the person on the bridge and threatened violence in the past to her. Okay, so we have that. Quote, although his exact location cannot be confirmed, end quote, he was in the area of Monon High Bridge Trail. His home is also in the area of Monon High Bridge Trail. Quote, he was likely outside of his home and in the proximity of the crime scene at 10:16 in the evening. This is suspect, so let us search. Another person said he was violent and they thought he could be involved, so let us search. 15 tips came in for him, so let us search. And then I'm going to read the last two straight from there. No, I do not think that. I'm just getting really sick of people thinking that he did based on this affidavit, because this is what we have. We have an affidavit. And once I get done here, you'll understand why I'm doing this. Okay, so these are all the points that I just went through. I had written my points down instead of showing them because I didn't want to read this whole document again. Okay, so number 30 is based on the above aforementioned facts, Logan was in the area at the time the crime occurred and that he provided false information about his activities during the crime to law enforcement, has a prior propensity for violence, employed others to assist in deceiving law enforcement, and plotted an alibi for a crime that had not yet been discovered. Okay, so that's what we have as far as all of the things, her 29 points, and then the finality of it of like, this is why we want to search. Again, remember, this is a search warrant. This is nothing more than a search warrant. So, of course, it's going to be need to be filled with things as to why they believe, that's a key word in this that seems to get dismissed, that there could be evidence of a homicide. That is exactly what a search warrant of property is for, is that they believe that there is evidence of a crime, or in this case, a homicide inside of that residence. Let us go look. So guess what? They went and looked. Do we see any probable causes filed after that for Ron Logan? No, we do not. But we can ascertain that there are more search warrants. We know that they have served more search warrants, and they're not all on Ron Logan. I know of one personally that they had to get probable cause for that search warrant in front of a judge, and the judge granted that, and the search did take place. So inside of that affidavit that they submitted before the judge, there also had to be things that they were going to find evidence of a homicide on the inside of this person's house. Did they find that? They must not have, because he's not charged. Neither is Ron Logan. But guess who is charged? Richard Matthew Allen. Did they serve a search warrant on his residence? Yes. Yes, they did. Has he been charged with 2 counts of murder for Abby and Libby? Yes, he has. And so that about wraps up what I have on Ron Logan. I think that it is disturbing that this affidavit and anything else, anything that someone said, well, I have an inside source. Well, I don't really care. That's great for you. And no one should just blindly believe someone because they say they have an inside secret source. That should not be something that should be a thing. It just shouldn't be a thing. Because someone could just be saying that. Someone could be that secret source and they look great on paper, but it could just be that, a piece of paper, and nothing about it is real. I have seen so many people come forward in this case pretending to be FBI agents, police officers, detectives. I mean, you name it. And they simply are not. I don't know why people want to lie about their profession. I find that to be troubling for sure. But it does happen. And why are we, especially in the sleuthing community, taking people at their word? Like, it's kind of bizarre. I've seen it happen over and over again. I can remember a lady coming in and saying that she was like a crime scene, this and that. And she had worked in law, like all these different fields of law enforcement. And guess what? When she was actually looked into, she was like a hairdresser. Same as me. She didn't have any of that. She was lying about it. Why? I have no idea, other than just to have people believe you and to be more reputable or something like that. Like, I think that you can listen to True Crime Web. You can listen to Mr. Steve talk. You can listen to CD talk, and you know that, like, yeah, by their vernacular and things that they're saying and the things that they won't talk about because of being professional, you can kind of tell. And you can also kind of tell the fakes when you really start to listen to what they say and what comes out of their mouth. Just really pay attention and don't take people at their word. Make them prove it to you. I think it's great what Mr. Steve does at the beginning of every show. Does it get monotonous? Sure. But that just because it's monotonous doesn't mean that it shouldn't be there. It absolutely should be there. And he goes through and gives you references and places that you can look for his personal things. He's showing you certificates of what he has accomplished while being in law enforcement. And that should just be a given. And those things can be screenshotted, and then you can go and look for yourself to see if the person is being honest. And we should all try to do that. Okay, so next up we have Kegan Klin. So this is not going to be it's probably not going to be popular, but I'm just going to simply kind of go through what has been like what has been said and what has not been said. So he had all right, let me share my screen here again. Okay. I keep pulling these up and then I've lost them in all of these things here. Whew. I'll just have to go back and do it again. Okay. So comes now the state of Indiana by Chief Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Peter Dietrichs, and respectfully requests certain counts previously filed in the about caption cause of action be dismissed. In support thereof, the state would show the court as follows. On August 19th of 2020, the state of Indiana filed 30 counts against the defendant in the above captioned cause of action. So the cause number is right up here. The state requests that counts 4, 11, 15, 18, and 24 be dismissed for the reason that, after consulting with the subject matter expert, it has been determined that there is insufficient evidence to prove said counts beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. Dismissal of the aforementioned counts is in the best interest of the state. Wherefore, the state requests the court grant this motion, dismiss the counts as indicated herein above, and for all other relief that the court deems to be just and proper. Okay, so this is saying that we the state, the prosecuting attorney, is asking that the judge dismissed counts 4, 11, 15, 18, and 24 because that when they talk to someone that is a subject, this particular subject matter expert, they said that you have insufficient evidence to prove said counts. Okay, so now we can go over to, oh goodness, I've got so many things pulled up. Okay, so what I did is I went to, this is one of Indiana's, I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of small here. Hopefully you can zoom in, but it's basically like, this is the sentencing guidelines. Does that mean that something couldn't happen outside of that? No, it's simply a guideline for sentencing in Indiana. Okay, so a level 6 felony, the sentence range minimum and maximum is 6 years and 2.5 years to 2.5 years, with a year being the advisory sentence. Okay, so a level 5 felony is 1 to 6 years, with the advisory sentence being 3 years. And a level 4 felony is 2 to 12 years, with the advisory sentence of 6 years. So what I did was I just simply put the advisory sentence what sentence is advised next to each one of his counts. So this is a level 5. Count 1 is a level 5, so that's 3 years. Pretty self-explanatory here. Count 5, another 3 years. Count 5, another 3 years. This is number 4, so this is the one that they asked to be dismissed, and so the 3 years is over here, and it is the same as the rest of them here. So I would assume that they think that they can't prove that he possessed the possession of child pornography with aggravating factor found in 3542.44E1 3 different times. So one of them, the expert said, nope. And then we have the same here goes felony 6, which is 1 year, felony 6, 1 year, felony 6, felony 6, felony 6, felony 6, felony 6. Number 11, the possession of child pornography, possession of photos, etc., showing sexual contact. And they motion to dismiss this one based on the expert's opinion. And then we have felony 5, so that's 3 years, felony 6, 1, felony 5, 3, felony 6, 1, and this is count number 15, possession of child pornography. You can see that he's still charged with a bunch of possession of child pornography. And then we see that a felony 6 here, the number 18, possession of child pornography. So 2 counts of possession of child pornography. They do not feel that they can get those 2 counts, but they must believe that they can still get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other possession of child pornography. Nope, 7 other possession of child pornographies on him. And then we can just keep on going down the list. Here we have some felony 4s, which none of them were dismissed. That is the highest one that he is charged with. And those are the advisory sentence is 6 years for each of those. So we still have all 3 of those still present. And then number 24, which is another possession of pornography. So 6. He could still be charged with 6 counts of possession of child pornography, but 3 counts the expert said to dismiss. So when you add up all of these numbers along with the remaining charges that we see here, so 25 is another felony 4, felony 6, felony 6, felony 5, felony 5, felony 5. So this, there was 17 years here. And so I just simply added those all up, the 55 plus the 17 from the other, had to divide it into 2 screenshots. So that is 77 years. So the advisory sentence, not saying that that's what they will request or what the judge will sentence him, because that is up to the discretion of the courts. This is just the advisory if they go strictly under what is advised for him to be sentenced to, he would be getting like 77 years. So by taking off the count 4, count 11, count 15, count 18, and count 24, the advisory sentence, if he was charged with on all 3 of those, would be 7 years. That's it. So he would get 70 years instead of 77 years. Just really doesn't feel like that great of a deal. In the grand scheme of years that he could be sentenced to. Again, that is just a median. I'm not trying to say that he couldn't be sentenced to the max on every single one of those or the minimum on every single one of those. But a felony 5 is going to be, 1 to 6 years, and a felony 6 is going to be 6 months to 2.5 years. And he has 4 of those. So whichever way you pull it, it's not really that good of a deal when you think of the gravity of turning over information in a double murder case. I don't really think that. And because of this, I kind of feel like maybe the search of the river is related to something else. Maybe they didn't find anything, and that's why. And this is as simply as not him getting a deal of any kind. This is just the court, the state, doing exactly what they said. They went to an expert, and the expert said, yeah, you don't really have enough here for these. We recommend that you file for those to be dismissed, and that is what they are asking of the judge. Simple as that. Okay. So next we have just something that, like we're going off of the what is in the probable cause affidavit and what isn't, what is in here and what isn't in here, and are there any charges filed against him in regards to Abby and Libby? And the answer is no, there isn't. It is not mentioned in here. February 13th of 2017 is not mentioned in this report. Now, what they did do a search warrant at the Peru residence, which I have seen this, not redacted. And so it says this. The undersigned says, on February 25th, 2017, the Indiana State Police and the Federal Bureau of Investigations executed a search warrant at his house while working ISB case blank. The FBI sent information to the ISB Cybercrimes Unit that an adult male was soliciting female juveniles utilizing the social media platforms. So what is this saying? ISB Cybercrimes Unit sent them information. Okay. So from Snapchat and Instagram, the adult male was using the username Anthony Shots. Subpoenas were sent to Instagram and Snapchat for the Anthony Shots account information. The Instagram and Snapchat returns provide Comcast IP address, so links them to his house. A subpoena was sent to Comcast for the IP address associated with the Anthony Shots accounts, and they returned to his residence in Peru, Indiana. The Instagram subpoena advised that Anthony Shots' account was registered at 7/20/2016, and the Snapchat return advised the account was registered on 7/14/2016. On February 25th, 2017, at approximately 12:30, the search warrant was executed on the residence by ISP, FBI, and the Peru Police Department. So we can assume that there is yet another probable cause affidavit for a search warrant to be issued. So search warrant affidavit to be issued that a judge signed for the Peru residence. Probably stating something about this account was maybe, I'm not even going to speculate on that. But whatever they found gave them probable cause to execute a search warrant on their residence on February 25th of 2017. And then here it talks about nothing about Abby and Libby is mentioned in any of this. Okay. But what in it says, this is the part where it says Kegan's polygraph questions were based on case, and that is marked out. Kegan's polygraph was concluded at approximately 7:30 p.m. and he was transported back to his residence. It doesn't even say whether he passed it or not. You can, check my work. This is available to anybody to look over this, and many people have. We have a bunch from Emily Ann, which was not what the Cyber Crimes Unit specified as in, they said the Anthony Shots account. But because of this search warrant that was issued by the judge, they found all of this other evidence that has led them to charge him with what what is it now, 25 counts of possession, exploitation, and all of that against children. But if you look through this, there isn't anything, you don't see anything related to the 2013. Now, why is this important? Well, it's not really. I mean, it is because, everybody has just, we've been listening to the murder sheet. We've been listening to these different people that are talking about Kegan Klin, but like, why isn't anybody saying that law enforcement in an interrogation, they're not required to tell the truth? And so we have this affidavit that doesn't specifically link him. It is linking him, but it is not linking him to the murders. Okay. But then again, we have the interrogation. I have also known someone that has been interrogated for, one time was for 5 hours and one time was for, was it 7 hours? 5 and 7 hours at 2 different times. So 5 hours one time and 7 hours another time. This person's family member was questioned as well for a couple hours. So what do you think that the people interrogating him did within the confines of the law, of the rules? I'll read you the rules here in a second. They didn't tell the truth. They're not required to tell the truth. So they could simply be saying that he failed his polygraph test. When we don't know, it's not admissible in court anyway. We don't know what the truth is. The probable cause doesn't say the truth. It doesn't say whether he passed or not. It's just that he took one and then he was taken back home. It doesn't necessarily say anything specific about him being the murderer of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. And but in the interview, it isn't implied, or that the person and that your phone was here. Well, we don't see any charges for him whatsoever so far as being involved in the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Is he a creep? Absolutely. Is he a murderer? I don't know. He still could be. He still could be involved. There's great arguments out there that I've heard. We just simply don't know. And if you read over the interview again, just keep in mind that, here are the Indiana interrogation rules. We'll just look at those together. Procedure. Custodial interrogations for investigation of a felony shall require audio and visual recordings if conducted in a place of detention. A place of detention is defined as a jail, law enforcement agency, station house, or any other stationary or mobile building owned or operated by law enforcement agencies. Number 1, custodial interrogations involving a felony arrest shall be conducted by order of preference at A, the nearest properly equipped department, district, or facility, a properly equipped non-department law enforcement facility, police station, jail, etc., or through the use of authorized portable audio-visual equipment in a location that is conducive to obtaining a proper quality recording. The interrogation shall be recorded in an audio-video format and must include the image of voice of the suspect and at least the voice of the interviewer. Audio-visual recordings of custodial interrogation shall be maintained and entered into evidence within 72 hours of the completion of the interrogation. The submission should be otherwise in ordinance with department rules and SOPs. Custodial interrogation process. Read word for word the Indiana State Police Advisement of Rights interrogation form. Read word for word the waiver of rights section appearing on the form or card used. Clearly and plainly, without promise, threat, or force of any type, offer the person opportunity to sign the waiver. Special circumstances prior to custodial interrogation. So we don't need to read that one. Don't need to read that one. Nope. Don't need to read that one. Nope. Don't need to read that one. When no printed advisement or rights interrogation form for Miranda or a pocket card is available, the office shall advise the person in substantially the same language as follows. Before we ask you any questions, you must understand your rights. You have the right to remain silent, and then it goes through the Miranda rights. Secure a waiver by asking in summary the following. Did you hear this statement of your rights? Do you understand what your rights are? Are you willing to answer questions and to make a statement at this time? If possible, tape or digitally record the verbal warnings and the waiver of rights. Make a written record of each warning given, including time, date, and location without regard to whether a waiver or subsequent statement was secured. Interrogation. During the interrogation, the officer's conduct should be a professional demeanor. No threats or promises should be made to the suspect. The interrogation should be of a reasonable time frame, allowing for toilet breaks, rest periods, food, and drink if appropriate. While in the interrogation room, there should be no more than 2 officers present while interrogating a suspect. This procedure is to be used in conjunction with all relevant department regulation rules and policies and procedures. So, having read most of that, and you can go and find, it's called the standard operating procedure for interrogation in the state of Indiana. And you can go and verify that for yourself. And nowhere in there does it say that they are not allowed to lie. It is a, so because of that, we have the probable cause affidavit, and we have the transcripts of the interview with Kegan Klin. Keep in mind that they are allowed to lie, just when you're thinking about that. Just some things to think about. And then we come to Mr. Richard Allen. So again, this is just the arrest made for the murders. An arrest made for the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. This has been something that I've seen over and over again of I don't know, misunderstanding of the charges, and really reading into the fact that yeah, Ivy Rose, just to be clear though, they can't lie in probable cause and other affidavits. True. What would be the point of that? And so that's the distinct difference. They can lie in an interrogation. They cannot lie in the affidavits. Why could they not lie in the affidavits to the judge? I don't even think I need to answer that question. But so this clearly states, this is from the Indiana State Police. This clearly states that an arrest has been made for the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. On February 13, 2017, Abigail Williams and Liberty German were tragically murdered while visiting the Monon High Bridge in Delphi, Indiana. Shortly after, the Indiana State Police and Carroll County Sheriff's Office created the Delphi Double Homicide Task Force, which encompassed federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. This task force has worked diligently the last 5.5 years to ensure this horrendous crime did not go unsolved. On Wednesday, October 26th of 2022, detectives with the Delphi Double Homicide Task Force took Richard Allen, aged 50, from Delphi, Indiana, into custody at the Indiana State Police Lafayette Post for the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Allen was transported to Carroll County Jail, where he was being held. On Friday, October 28th of 2022, Allen was formally charged with 2 counts of murder and transported to the White County Jail, where he is currently being held without bond. Okay. So he has been, again, I don't understand. Well, let's go and we'll read the charge, his charge. But it is 35 42 1 1, and then in parentheses is a 2. So while, let me just pull this up. Yeah, it's not going to go straight to it. It's going to pull up all kinds. Murder. 35 42. So 35, Indiana Code 35 42 1 1. And then, so section 1, a person who, the -1, knowingly or intentionally kills another human being. And then 2 is kills another human being while committing or attempting to commit arson, burglary, I cannot say that word, child molesting, consumer product tampering, criminal deviant conduct, kidnapping, rape, robbery, human trafficking, promotion of human labor trafficking, promotion of human sex trafficking, promotion of child sexual trafficking, promotion of sexual trafficking of a younger child, child sexual trafficking, or carjacking. These are all the things that, with that little parentheses 2, that he's charged with murder, which is a person who knowingly or intentionally, so that means with forethought, like they thought about this before and they did it knowing that they were going to, which means they intended to kill. They intended to commit murder. Again, I don't know why this is so difficult, but it seems to be a common thing that I'm seeing in chats with people saying that, I guess because of the parentheses 2, that he is, this gives way in Indiana for him to be the accomplice in this. Like it really doesn't make any sense to me. And I just keep trying over and over again, like saying, no, that's not what it says. That, and so what it's saying is that this person thought with malice and forethought, decided that they were going to murder another human, and they intended to do that, and that's what they set out to do. Therefore, it is premeditated murder. And then while they were committing premeditated murder, they decide they were also committing at the same time, the same person, not anybody else. No one else has jumped in here to this Indiana code for murder here. No one else has jumped in here. At the same time that the person was committing premeditated murder, they were also committing another criminal felony. It could be any one of these things listed. We have no clue what it is, but right off the bat, we can say, well, they have literally video evidence of them being kidnapped. So it could be that he was kidnapping them, because and then he murdered them. So the parentheses 2 has nothing to do with anybody else. He is not charged with conspiracy to commit murder, where he's conspiring with someone else to commit this murder. We don't see that charge. We don't see assisting a criminal when the criminal assisted committed murder. We don't see that charge. Those are Indiana charges that you can look up. And I think I wrote down what they are, but they're, if you type that in, then you will be able to go right to that. But those are things where if he assisted someone, then his charging information would say that. Maybe it will down the road. We have no idea. But what we do know right now is that this Ricky has been charged with double murder, intentionally killing of another while also committing another criminal felony offense. Okay. So it could just be simple. It could be kidnapping. It could be one of these other ones. We don't know yet. And that is not something that we will know until the charging information changes or the trial is over. Real simple. I think I wrote down some questions here. Where are people getting this information about this charging info that says this leaves room for him being a co-conspirator? I have no idea. It's simply not there in what is written in the charging information. It does not say that whatsoever. Yeah, I did write it down. We do not see 35-41-5-2 felony 1 conspiracy to commit murder. Conspiracy results in death. Or we also do not see 35-44 1 through 2-5A2. We don't see assisting a criminal, but the criminal assisted committed murder. And then he's not charged with any drug offenses. So there is something inside of that where a person can be charged, or say a robbery, but that's simply not there. It is not. It would be a different Indiana code. It would be a different code altogether, and we do not see that on his charging information. What we simply see is exactly what I read and reiterated over and over again. So hopefully that can get just shut down. I've seen people have sent me that from Reddit. I've seen it pop up in chat after chat after chat. And now all of you guys will have available the information of where you can find and you can defute this, this claim by people. And he is not charged with a crime involving drugs. I already said that. So, we've already kind of gone over the Indiana sentencing guidelines. Okay, yeah, I started transcribing the press conference, the 2022 press conference, because, well, for this life. But I wanted to kind of go over what they did say, because in my opinion, we can make assumptions based on like what law enforcement has said to us, what we see in court records and things like that. And then just all of this wild theorizing and speculation. And it's like, I'm hearing things like it's this big snuff film, and there's like, it's just like adding to it and making it way like anything is possible. Like literally anything is possible, but is it probable? Like you have to ask yourself that. And what evidence do you have to support the probability of this being what happened to Abby and Libby? I have seen nothing about any snuff film and all of this stuff that has come from something that we can count on as being factual. I have seen no one speaking of anything like this in law enforcement. I personally have not seen any of that. I think that it should not be something that I don't understand. That to me, that seems like Hickensteichen. That does not seem like Occam's razor of that. This speculation, this wild speculation that Richard Allen has just been hired as the that he's just this, like, he sets up these, I've seen it in so many different places now, and things like that are just like, talk about some of those things maybe in a private group. Like I have a private little crime group, little Zoom group that we talk about all kinds of things in the privacy of that group, not on YouTube, not in a public setting. I I think that it is extremely hurtful. It's hurtful for many reasons. We don't know what could hurt the trial phase of this case, and we don't know, and we do know that things like that are going to hurt the families. They're going to hurt the families, and they have honestly been through enough. They have been through so much bullshit in the last 5.5 years, almost 6, for I don't even know why. I really don't even understand. It's never made sense to me. You have a family that is going through their roughest time, and then on top of that, you're going to add a bunch of people accusing them of being murderers, and it's based on, oh, well, they've been inconsistent. You know how many times I've seen that stupid ass word come up of like inconsistent, talking about Kelsey, talking about the Patties, talking about Tara and their statements. Well, let me tell you this. If you ever run into a family that they have down to a T at 2:02 and 1:39, and they're giving you specific dates and times to the 101, whatever the time frame may be, and they all are saying the exact same thing, that is a family that has gotten together and decided of what they're going to say, and they are talking about, or that's one, like if they are right away giving you all kinds of times and dates, and every single family member is giving you the exact same times and dates as the other family member, you should be a little bit more suspicious of them than the family member that were like, well, I don't know, I think it was around 4. Like it was like I was going through a lot. I was scared out of my mind. It was right after the crime, and they were devastated beyond belief. Those are people that are not going to have consistent timelines. But guess what? When they got their information from their phones, and they did get together and they put together a timeline, and they turned that over to law enforcement, it's none of our forking business anyways, but they gave us the new information that they had because they wanted the public's help. They wanted to be transparent. And what did we do? Not me, but what did people do? They turned that around against them and said, you're being inconsistent. Like a bunch of little babies that don't have a half a brain. Like, no, they were going back and they were taking those approximates and those abouts and the misremembering that they did, and then look it up psychologically of what can happen to the human brain under duress, under extreme sudden loss and duress of a situation. Look what can happen. And it's sickening to me that some of these people have yet to apologize, or they just keeping on going. Like it is. Anyways, let's get through this. So this is the first speaker was Sergeant Jeremy Pierce, and just simply wrote what he said. So Doug Carter is up first, and he says, seldom do I have prepared remarks, but today is different because I do not want there to be any confusion or ambiguity with what I will say. Today is not the day to celebrate because the arrest of Richard M. Allen of Delphi on 2 counts of murder is a sure major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation. So he says this is a major step in leading to the conclusion of this long-term and complex investigation. I am proud to report to you that today, actually last Friday, was the day and an arrest has been made. We are going to continue a very methodical and committed approach to ensure that if any other person has any involvement in these murders in any way, that person or persons will be held accountable. Highlighted in green are some of the the things that I found moving about what each speaker had to say. And then his was the 286 days ago. That's how many days it's been since that these families has had to learn to live with not knowing. And so that is moving. And he also, when he was talking to all of the major law enforcement officers and employees of the lab and everywhere that have taken their time away from their families, given up promotions and holidays, and spent so much time trying to get justice for Abby and Libby. He says, I really believe that Abby and Libby would be proud of you for standing strong, even in the face of immense pressure and perpetual criticism. It's really sad. Thank you. Thank you for all that you've done for Abby and Libby. Okay. He says, while I know you all are expecting final details today concerning this arrest, today is not that day. Today is not that day. This investigation is far from complete, and we will not jeopardize its integrity by releasing or discussing documents or information before the appropriate time. He also says, please, give us, I am yet again asking you for your patience and please your understanding, something we've heard him say before, while our system of due process works. Due process is a judicial word that is used for the process that it takes to get to the conviction, the conviction, the sentencing, the due process that is owed the defendant. Due process. This is the state of they will be able to prove their case against him in a court of law. Also remember that all persons arrested are presumed innocent. All persons arrested are presumed innocent. He said that 2 times. If you and he also says, if you choose to be critical of our silence, be critical of me, not the front line. These are the folks that committed their entire lives to a successful conclusion. In other words, a guilty verdict. That should be the main important thing. I'm getting really frustrated with seeing people out there that are basically saying that it's our constitutional right to this information. Yeah, except for this rule that we're about to read, except for when it is sealed, because there is exceptions to this being made public. Otherwise, and we're going to read about that here in a little bit. So all of this jabber-jawing on and on about, guess what? The media, the public has a right to appeal this decision made by the courts, asked for by the prosecutor, granted by the courts, and able to be appealed by the public, which is already set to happen. And at that time, then guess what? Your case will be heard and your case will be heard. And then a decision will be made and the decision will be appropriate. And there is no reason to think that it won't. And so that's just kind of that, but we're going to get to that later. As we move to the next phase. So he said that, he called it the next phase. And then, yes, and this is so true. Abby and Libby, though in death, have had a profound effect on so many of us, on how we live, and as importantly, who we all should be. I wish we could all remember that every time we're typing or every time we're talking on YouTube or in Facebook and Twitter and whatever, wherever else. And then this is Tobe. He came out strong, and I thought he did an excellent job. I thought they all did an excellent job. He said, "I believe in a God of justice and righteousness. Today, I believe that same God has provided us with justice for Abby and Libby. I earnestly thank those who prayed for this moment in time." That, that says a lot right there. That really says a lot. God has provided us with justice for Abby and Libby. And he wants to thank the people that prayed for this very moment in time when justice would be coming for Abby and Libby. He also said, allowing the system to provide its due diligence and process. So we're hearing that due process again in providing the justice, which is owed Abby and Libby, their families, and this community. Very moving words right there. Very moving words. And thank you, Sheriff Lesenby. There are times when I have been critical and of different people in law enforcement for just some of the things that have gone on, but especially there in Carroll County. But at some point, you have to be able to see what all of them have given up and done for justice for Abigail Williams and Liberty German, and thank them for that. Are they perfect? No. Are they good? Yes. I truly believe that these are good, and they have taken so much criticism and just all of the hate, and they've still kept going, and they still have providing that justice which is owed Abby and Libby. Then we have the third speaker was Nicholas McLeland. He is the Carroll County prosecutor. And one of the moving things that he said and I think because he talks so fast, there's not a lot of he is, especially when you compare him to Doug Carter, who just spoke not long, because Sheriff Lesenby's speech was pretty short. There's a lot of emotion, and Nick McLeland, the prosecutor, doesn't really have that, which is a really good thing for a prosecuting attorney to not have. I mean, it can go either way, but I would much rather have a straight shooter. Not that Doug Carter is not a straight shooter. It's just the filibustering, that is appropriate for the role that he plays in the state of Indiana. I like to see an attorney that is more that no nonsense, like Miss McLeland is, to the point, blunt, and he does speak very fast. But he had said, there are many dates in a lifetime you're going to remember. The date your children are born, the date you're married, the date you buy your first house, the date Abby and Libby went missing. And of those dates was last Friday, October 28th, 2022. So there's dates that you're going to remember your whole life, because they're important. And yeah, and one of those dates was last Friday, was the day that they formally indicted Richard Matthew Allen on 2 counts of murder. That's a day that we're all going to remember. At that time, we had gathered evidence to formulate a probable cause that was submitted to the court, and the judge did find probable cause for an arrest of Richard Allen. He's been charged with 2 counts of murder for the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. This investigation is still very ongoing. We're keeping the tip line open, the tip email open. We encourage everybody to continue to call in tips, not only about Richard Allen, but about any other person that you may have. For that reason, and for the nature of this case, the probable cause for that reason, and for the nature of this case, the probable cause and the charging information have been sealed by the court. These are some of the questions that were asked. This was asked by a reporter. What did Richard Allen? I think he said what, but I'm sure he meant when. What did Richard Allen become a suspect? And do you think he acted alone? And he says, again, that's part of the investigation. So I'm not going to talk about those things. What I can say, so he can't talk about that, but what he can say is that we have probable cause established by court for his arrest. He is in custody and he's being held currently without bond. So can't tell you all that, but what I can tell you is that this mofo is being charged with the murder of Abigail Williams, and he is being held without bond. And that there was probable cause to indict, and this will be seen out in whichever way that it proceeds forward. Do not hold your breath for for this to be all summed up by January and March. That is very unlikely. There will probably be many delays, but everybody has a right to a speedy trial. And so I think that is to, like, so the state only has a certain amount of time before they have to try someone unless the defense motions for delay, a continuance of some kind. And if this defense motions for a continuance, those can go on for years and years. I've seen it happen over and over again. So that's just kind of the truth about that. I understand it's frustrating, but my goal is to maintain the integrity of this case. So it's frustrating to not have it available, but the integrity of this case is what is important to, obviously, the prosecutor. Do you assume that there are any other individuals involved in this stay? He says, we haven't closed the door on the investigation. And so that's why we keep the tip line and the tip email open. And so we're not presuming anything. And then this little part is going to have us listen to. Still open, extra scrutiny, protecting the integrity of this case, opportunity to explain the evidence and that not be tarnished or tainted, presumed innocent. And so it was important for me in this case to do that. So we're just going to listen to him and listen for those key things that he says.
Morning. My name is Sergeant.
Oh, it didn't do it. You know how you can like save it and then it like goes to the time. That's a bummer. It looks like it should, doesn't it? Wonder what I did wrong.
Case. I want to have an opportunity and examine that and see where it leads us. Excuse me? Do you assume there's any other individuals involved in this case? We haven't closed.
Do you assume that there's any other individuals involved in this case?
There's a door on the investigation. And so that's why we keep the tip line and the tip email open. And so we're not presuming anything at this point, but we're going to continue to take tips, continue to take any information anybody has. And as we've done with all the information we've gathered, we're going to look at that and examine that and see where it leads us.
You've asked the court based on this investigation, and these documents should remain out of the public view.
see all the documents, right?
Sure, sure.
Make a decision. You explain your decision as to why you believe that over the next 30 days, no one in this room should have access to those records.
Sure, it is unusual. We don't do it very often in all the cases that we handle here in Carroll County. We did it in this case because the investigation is still open. And while all cases are important, the nature of this case has some extra scrutiny with it. And so my office, felt it was important to seal those records. There will be a public hearing on whether or not those records are going to remain sealed or not. There'll be public notice for that hearing so that everyone can attend, but there will be a hearing to determine whether or not they're going to stay sealed. But for now, to me, it's about protecting the integrity of this case. I want to have an opportunity at some point to have an opportunity in court to explain the evidence and for that not to be tarnished or tainted or anything like that. Again, he's presumed innocent. And so it was important for me in this case to do that. Hold on just a minute. We're not going to comment on that right now as part of the investigation. Again, we just encourage everybody to continue to call in tips if they have them about anybody, and we'll examine those tips. That's a hard question to answer. It's a mixed emotions. I've been watching the news all weekend like everybody else has, and I think a lot of the members of the public said it right. It's bittersweet. It's a step in the right direction. It's concerning that he's a local guy. So I think just different emotions. Again, this is a step in the right direction. This is the first step into getting into court and having a trial. And so, all right. That concludes our press conference today.
Oh, you know. I was like, where's the rest of my stuff? But so what did he say? Still open, extra scrutiny, protecting the integrity of this case, opportunity to explain the evidence and that not to be tarnished or tainted. Why? Because it is a high profile case. And then he reiterates again, they did this over and over again because, even though it is, we all presumed innocent. And so he's presumed innocent. And so it is important for me in this case to do that. Could those be hints as to why they wanted it sealed? I don't know. They said it. So we got to kind of take them at their word. Due process, presumed innocent, the integrity of the investigation, it's still open. Does that mean that there is this big gang of murderers operating up in Indiana and Delphi, Indiana? I just don't think so. I think that this person who they have named as the killer of Abby and Libby, who they have also said is the person depicted in the video of the killer on the bridge. So bridge guy, who we all have dubbed him, is the killer of Abby and Libby. And the killer of Abby and Libby is Richard Matthew Allen. Enough said. It's enough said. It's like super simple to me. Like, so far, what we know is plenty. We know that this mofo killed them and that he has been charged with their murders and that he is going to have his day in court. And at the end of the trial, there will be a conviction or there will be a plea deal, which I honestly have to say, just based on what all the family has to go through at a trial and how brutal they are, mentally, emotionally, physically, every aspect of their being they are not set up to shield the family from any horror. They can't be. And so they have to sit there and hear the atrocities that were done to their loved one, and they're hearing it mostly for the first time, if not prepped right before, because of the integrity of the trial. They don't get an opportunity to be forewarned for some of this stuff because it wouldn't be ethical within the confines of the judicial system. They can be told this is going to be a hard day. We're going to be doing A, B, C, and D. You might not want to be present. And I've talked about this before. Cheryl, Nicole Bowen's mother, I went to that trial and I sat there with her when she had to see the crime scene photos. And she had to hear from the medical examiner of what was done to her daughter. And her take was, I'm not going to let him beat me. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to take it. I'm going to hear exactly what he did to my child, what she did to my child, and what he did. Because there was 2 people charged with her murder, and they were both convicted. One took a plea, one was convicted in a court of law, and I got to go to that trial. And it was brutal. It was brutal. It was hard for me to look at and hear, let alone Nicole's mom happened to look at and hear that. And she did it with such grace and drive to, you won't see me cowering. You won't see me backing away, like I'm going to sit here and I'm going to take it because that's what I have to do. And is that how everybody was? No. I don't know for myself if I would be able to do that. But she didn't want to give him the satisfaction of having that left side of the courtroom, which is the prosecutor's side, empty. And she was going to sit there and she was going to fill those seats to the fullest. And that meant that she was going to have to hear some really hard things, and she did it. And so did everybody else for the most part. And I think that's commendable. And Abby and Libby's families are about to have to be those people on the left. And it's going to be rough because this one it's not going to be, just a small, the amount of media and people that are going to be there, during this trial in Newton County, there was a couple court reporters that showed up. And, all meanwhile, you got to remember that the family sitting on the left in the back of the court, the back of the court is sitting behind the state. There's other family that is sitting on the right side of them, and there's an aisle in between them, and all the people sitting on the right side are there in support of the defendant, or the defendant's family. Not that you have to sit left or right, but you know what I mean. And that's a rough place to be, walking in and out of court for 5 straight days, right next to the family of the person that killed your child. And some of them very rudely came up to her and to proclaim their child's innocence. And again, we're not talking about children here. We're talking about grown adults, but we're all parents. And so we know what it means to have a child, and they're always our children. They don't outgrow that. But, and again, she stood with such grace and respect. And like, I respect her so much for the way that she handled them when they were coming up to her. I'm really sorry what happened to your daughter, but my son didn't do this. My daughter didn't do this. There's no way, before even hearing any of the evidence. We're talking about just like pretrial hearings. How hard is that not to pop off at the mouth? It is a grueling process. And I changed my mind. I am death penalty. I am not for, having that removed repealed from the state of Indiana. I believe in the death penalty. What I don't believe in is the appeal process and the rights of a death row inmate, and all that is afforded to them, and the expense that it costs to not only house them, but to provide their like their appeal process. It is so expensive. And you know that most of those get reduced. I was looking in Indiana, and it was like it was like a 30 out of 77 were actually have been executed, and the other it's been commuted down to life without the possibility of parole or lesser. For the cost that it costs, that is just not a great number. It's just not very good. I think it was 77. And then the numbers are online. You can look it up. But yeah, it wasn't that great. And that means that they won they appealed their sentence and they won because it was commuted down to a lesser sentence other than death. And the only thing that I don't like about the life without the possibility of parole is the fact that that person are going to get to see their loved ones, to where the victim's family is never going to see them again. They're never going to see them again. And it just doesn't seem right that someone would get to have that privilege. And that's why, I wish that the death penalty legislation could be changed. That would be great. I don't think I have any more to I had written down, I don't even know what it says. So we read the transcript, and then it says, what if they wanted it sealed because they believed there is someone else involved? Okay, great. What does having that information help in the conviction of Ricky? What does us having that information help in the conviction of Ricky? Ask yourself that. What if what is in the PC is so damning that they feel Ricky will be hindered from receiving a fair trial? That this could lead to a mistrial, something going wrong in the post-conviction relief or the appeal process, or worse. What if they think that someone assisted a criminal, he being the criminal, but the criminal assisted him, committed murder? So when someone assists a criminal, it is when they help hide a body or move a body, or some way assist the person that murdered them, which is Richard Allen. That is what he's charged with. Their murders, not an accomplice. He's charged with their murder. But that, what if someone helped him? And that could be in any phase of it. Most likely where you see this is in, say, like with Garrett Kurtz and Christopher Mathis. Mathis had absolutely nothing to do with her murder. But he did with covering up her murder. And so therefore he was charged with assisting the criminal. Do I think that if you help somebody cover up a murder, it should be more than a level 5 felony? Absolutely. We know that a level 5 felony is 1 to 6 years. That is hardly enough time. I mean, that is just unbelievable to me that in the state of Indiana, and I'm sure they could add a bunch more charges if they so desired. You can find things within the confines of the law to do so. But as it stands, assisting a criminal when the criminal assisted committed murder. So you're assisting someone who's committed a murder in some way. You're now implicated in that murder, but it is only a level 5 felony. Prosecutable by 1 to 6 years in the state of Indiana. That's crazy. What if the probable cause was sealed because they really do think that Ricky has told someone what he did? If true, they would want the PC to be sealed so that the defense cannot say that the testimony could have been gathered via the media or online somewhere. So my thinking on this is, what if they wanted it sealed because, like, well, I just read it, but like someone is going to hear this, they're going to see this press conference, and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. I thought that guy was just having a moment and like being crazy. I had no idea that he told me what he did. We were sitting at a bar one night and he got drunk and he was like saying this and that. And I told him, to shut up and like, but I just, whatever, that crazy guy, like, and didn't even think a thing of it. What if there's someone out there that's like that? What if it is the family? What if someone is out there and then they go and release this probable cause affidavit and don't even at least try to have it sealed, which is totally within their right and the law to do so under the rules of the state of Indiana. And yeah. So they wanted to give time for the public to see this press conference, know that they have charged this man with the double murder of Abby and Libby, and they come forward and been like, oh my gosh. So any Tom, Dick, and Harry could come forward if the probable cause is outlined, if it in the probable cause is outlined, the method and things of their murder. So therefore, any additional testimony, and again, this is not what their case is resting on, obviously. That is definitely not what I'm saying. Do not get it twisted. But this information and these witnesses that may come forward after the fact and been like, oh my gosh, this happened, just like we saw with the bartender that came forward. That again is just speculation because we don't know. That could be totally made up. I'm assuming that person is called law enforcement. I believe it said that they did, and they will be able to vet whether that story has merit or not. It seemed very plausible, but what if they feel that there is someone out there that can corroborate the case that they have against him? How much more sure would that be? Because you may have DNA. You're not going to go in, like in the Nicole Bone case, they had DNA. Do you think they just stood up there and were like, hey, guess what? We got this guy's DNA. No, it was a 5-day trial. You gather all of the evidence that you have that incriminates someone, and then you present it to a jury, and then they tell you their verdict. And then the judge sentenced the person. And so you don't just like, wait, it's a done deal. Like that's all the district attorney or the state's prosecutor has to do. No, they want every little tiny thing. And like Mr. Patty said, we don't want any stone left unturned. And what if those stones are just simply, there's anyone out there that can corroborate that he, like, a part of what he did to them in those woods, and they know that information, and they couldn't have learned that information from anywhere else besides him because this probable cause is sealed. You see where I'm going with that? These are reasons to seal it. What we don't see is conspiracy to commit murder. So this would mean that more than one person like conspired to kill someone. He's not charged with that. He's not charged with it's 35-41-5-2 F1, which is felony 1, and I believe that one is 30 or 20 to 30 years in the state of Indiana. He's not charged with conspiracy to commit murder. Maybe he will be down the line. We just simply don't know. But as for right now, we do know that he's charged with murder, and we can rejoice in that, right? And then one of my questions that I wanted to answer today was, why do people think that they've done something wrong constitutionally by sealing the charging info, which has been unsealed already? The charging info has been. In the PC, there's going to be a hearing on it real soon, like November. What was it? The date? Chaotic. I think you just sent it to me. Let me look. November 22nd of 2022 at 9 a.m. in the Carroll County Circuit Court, which I don't know, that it's probably going to be changed. The judge has already recused himself because of all of the just craziness and hate. And then I see people are like, it's no excuse. They should have been ready. Do you think that the judge is the one that allots the money in a county? Like, they're the ones that are in charge of the pocketbooks, of the purse of the county? No. Maybe you should give them a call and complain, and maybe not stalk the judge. That might be nice. But again, it's already moved. And at the end of the day, that's what was supposed to happen. And I'm glad that that happened. And I think that none of this is going to affect the outcome of that trial. It is only going to help. And of course, Carroll County, I mean, everybody is giving Sheriff Lesenby so much shit about him being moved from Carroll to White and then to State. That's not uncommon. It's totally not uncommon. Most murderers are not held in the county jails. They are sent on to a state facility because they can protect them and protect them from other inmates and better. It's a county jail. I don't care what county it was in. This is not atypical. And making a big tattoo out of it and like blaming the county and that, sheriff, he can't keep him safe. Like he's whining about it. You just simply don't understand. Like, that's silliness. It's just silly. And that's what I have to say about that. So let's just go ahead and see Indiana rules of court. So this is not just something that I'm spouting off at the mouth. There's actually proof out there that you can go and find. And this is just that. This is the rules on access to the court records. Let's just see what it says. Rule number 1, scope and purpose. Pursuant to the inherent authority of the Indiana Supreme Court and pursuant to Indiana Access to Public Records Act, the rule governs public access to and confidentiality of court records. This rule applies to everyone who creates a court record as defined in Rule 3A, except as otherwise provided by this rule. Access to court records shall be governed by the Indiana Access to Public Records Act. The purpose of this rule are to contribute to public safety, protect individual due process and rights and privacy interests, minimize the risk of injury to individuals, promote accessibility to court records, promote governmental accountability and transparency, protect proprietary business information, and make the most effective use of court and the clerk of court staff. This rule applies to court records and everyone who creates a court record as defined in Rule 3. This rule does not authorize or prohibit access to information gathered, maintained, or stored by a non-judicial governmental agency or other entity. Disputes arising under this rule shall be determined in accordance with this and to the extent not intended with this rule by all other rules of procedure, evidence, and appeal. Clerk of court and courts need not redact or restrict information that was otherwise public in case records and court administrative records created before January of 2005. Commentary. The object of this rule is to provide maximum public accessibility to court records, taking into account public policy interests that are not always fully compatible with unrestricted access. This rule attempts to balance competing interests and recognizes that unrestricted access to certain information in court records could result in an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy or unduly increase the risk of injury to individuals and businesses. This rule recognizes that there are strong societal reasons for allowing public access to court records, and denial of access could compromise the judiciary role in society, inhibit accountability, and endanger public safety. This rule starts from the presumption of open public access to courts. In some circumstances, however, there are public safety and privacy reasons for restricting access to these records, such as an open investigation, such as the due process of the defendant. This rule recognizes that there are times when access to information may lead to or increase the risk of harm to individuals. However, given the societal interest in access to court records, this rule also reflects the view that any restriction to access shall be implemented in a manner tailored to serve the interests in open access. It is also important to remember that generally, at least some of the persons in a court case are not in court voluntarily or a party to the action. Care shall be taken that the privacy rights and interests of such involuntary parties or third persons are not unduly compromised. Subsection C is intended to assure that the public access provided under this rule does not apply to information gathered, maintained, or stored by other agencies or entities that is not necessary to or is not part of the basis of a court's decision or judicial process. Access to this information is governed by the law and the access policy of the agency collecting and maintaining such information. The ability of a computer in a court or clerk's office to access the information because the computer used shared software or shared databases does not by itself make the information in court records subject to this rule. The Indiana Office of Judicial Administration may provide advisory information to individuals or entities about the provisions, restrictions, and limitations of this rule. Who has access under this rule? All persons have access to court records as provided in this rule, except as provided in subsection B of this rule. B, the following persons, in accordance with their function within the judicial system, may have greater access to court records. The court agency or clerk of court employees, including courts of the United States of America and their related court agencies and clerk of court employees. So this is basically just saying like who has more access. Let's read some definitions. Court record means both court records and court and administrative records. Case record means any document, information, or data and other item created, collected, received, or maintained by a court, court agency, or clerk of court in connection with a particular case. Court administrative record means any document, information, document, or other item created, collected, received, or maintained by a court, court agency, clerk of court maintaining the administration of judicial branch of government and not associated with any particular case. Public access means that the process whereby a person may inspect and copy a court record. General access rule. A court record is accessible to the public except as provided in Rule 5. Well, let's just read Rule 5. Records excluded from the public. Entire cases where all court records are declared confidential by statute or other court rule. Entire cases where all court records are sealed in accordance with the Access to Public Records Act. Entire cases where all court records are excluded from public access by specific court order entered into ordinance with Rule 6. All mental health cases filed pursuant to IC 1226. Entire cases that exclusively pertain to investigative requests and process unrelated to a pending criminal proceeding, including but not limited to search warrants, subpoenas, ad testificandum, subpoena duce tecum, and other investigative requests. All paternity records created after July 1st, 1941 and before July 1st of 2014 as declared confidential by statuses in force between those dates, which statutes were amended, and then a bunch of stuff. Case records declared confidential or excluded from public access pursuant to federal law. Case records excluded from public access or declared confidential by Indiana statute or other court rule. Court records sealed in ordinance with the Public Act, with the Access to Public Records Act. Court records for which a statutory or common law privilege has been asserted and not waived or overruled. Court records created or maintained by an agency or program for pretrial release and supervision and problem-solving court supervision. Yeah, so you can just get on here and I'll tell you what, like, they like to write, just the legislative branch, the judicial branch, they just love to write a lot. And, you can read Rule 6, Rule 5. You can just read all these many rules. And guess what? They're within the confines of the law to ask of a judge and for him to permit and for the public, the media, the public to ask for an appeal date. They ask for a hearing where they're going to appeal this, which is all within the confines of the law. And then guess what? On November 22nd, there's going to be a decision made either way. That's it. They're not doing anything wrong. And there is a petition, the link is in the description, that the family has asked for, and I think that we should sign it. What better way to stand behind them in support? There is nothing wrong with closing a probable cause affidavit. Is it done regularly? No. But what did he tell us about the reasons why? The integrity of the investigation, the integrity of this case, it's still open, and the due process, he's presumed innocent. Okay, those are all reasons for why, and I think there are valid reasons, and obviously the judge did as well, and he closed the damn thing. And there will be a hearing held, and then a judge will decide whether it is going to stay that way or not. We are not just because we're the public, because we are United States citizens, that there are no exceptions to this rule. This is an exception to this rule. And if you want to go around quoting anything, then you better know what you're talking about, because otherwise you're just spreading misinformation. And it gets really old when everything is just really simple. People are just lazy and they don't want to look stuff up. And here it is. I struggled to find this, actually. I struggled to find where they had mentioned the said rule of courts. And so I was scrambling around, but guess what? I still did it. Did it take me way more time than I wanted? Yeah. Should it have probably taken me less? Yeah. But I still did it. And I had my friends that helped me do that. And yeah, it just getting somewhere and spouting off the mouth and acting like you know what you're talking about. And anybody can sound like they know what they're talking about. It's not hard. Make them show you what they're talking about. If you have someone sitting up on a YouTube and they're saying that they are, such and such, and they've done A, B, C, and D, and you should listen to them because they've actually been in this, and no, anybody can do this and anybody can say whatever the hell they want. Make sure where you're going. And if someone is just stuck on their theory, just know that that is called confirmation bias. That person should be discounted based on that. And I'm sorry, but back to the Ron Logan thing. If this FBI, this person is going around news nations and whatnot, wherever, and these secret, hidden people are telling all of this stuff and they've got but we can't see it, but they have, and you should just believe them. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. What kind of crazy is that? What kind of crazy is that? You have to ask yourself, what is ethically, professionally, and personally, what is their ethical compass? What is their moral compass, professionally or personally, that they would get out and be like, an FBI agent, former or not, is going to get up and say that it's Ron Logan? That is absolutely absurd. And we should question their integrity just based on that alone. That's it. That's it. Hell, remember, anything can be possible. Anything is possible. Is it probable? Is it probable? There's a big difference. This stuff with Kegan Klin, and is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? I don't know. All I know is that Richard Allen has been charged with the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. That's all I know. And that's all you know too. And we can have I love a good discussion and let's theorize, and let's put it in, let's talk about it in the confines of, we are theorizing now, and right now we are speculating. This is pure I thinks, not I knows, and this is the fact, and that person should be ignored completely. Going down rabbit trails, or looking at how this could work together with this, or what do we think, blah blah blah. I just simply I don't know. Against all reason, I just think that Richard Allen is charged with the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German, and that is it. And I just feel like, again, I'm stating my feelings, which are not facts. They're an opinion. And I feel that he is the sole killer of Abby and Libby. And I think that there is plenty of, I don't get why something has to be bigger than it already is, or more horrendous than it already is. It's horrendous that this guy just working at the forking CVS in the middle of town, greeting everybody every damn day. That is, that it's just, it's disturbing, this hiding in plain sight, helping everybody, this guy that we were hearing people describe him that know him as, and watching the videos, and just hanging out in bar, playing pocket billiards, and just going about his life. It is shocking. I don't know, anything would be shocking if we really think about it, but can you imagine what the families are going through? Have they been waiting for today is the day? Absolutely. Even Miss Becky said she was kind of surprised, and she didn't know what to do with herself after that 287th day of posting every day. I don't think from the day one, but pretty close. Today is the day. And then it's now what? Mr. Patty said we're moving into a different phase of this, and this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough for them. And I feel like people are making it way tougher, and all that they have to put up with. And if we can put a stop to some of these things, then that, I feel like, is our responsibility to do so. And right now, Richard Allen has been charged with the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Point blank, period. End of it. All right. That's all I have. Well, I have a few more things, but I don't know. I need a break. I need to go to the restroom, and then we can make a decision on that. It's been 2 hours already. I can't even find where StreamYard is. I have so many things open. Where is it? There it is. I should have just looked for the record. Oh boy. Oh boy. But yeah, so I'm going to take a quick break to go to the restroom, and then I will look at some chat, and I have some things that I found. I figured we do not know what he's going to be charged with, but we can be prepared, right? If they, if they decide that this is a death penalty case, while we don't know that that's what they're going to do, we can learn about it so that we're prepared, what that looks like in the state of Indiana. And then I found a thesis on understanding behavior, because I've seen a lot of like different lives and speculating about like that. And so I figured we could just read that too, but it's really long, so I doubt we're going to get to that. But I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be back. Sorry, there's nothing fancy. You're just going to have to stare at this shower curtain behind me while I step out of the frame. But talk amongst yourself, as you have been doing. And thank you, mods, for all that you've been doing. I really appreciate it. I'll be right back. Okay. So, hi, chat. I hope everybody's been getting along. Hey, Angel Bear. Say hi to the members as I find you. Chris, thank you for modding and crime and being a member. Crimezilla, thank you for modding. Ivy Rose, thank you for modding. True Crime Maria for being a member. Hey, Fig Salts, how are you? Hope you're good. Otto, man, I haven't, when you're reading Daisy, she's a member. Thank you. When you're reading, you can't see the chat, and I don't have the ability to, like, I have to focus on one thing, or I'm sure you all have seen me do it, just rabbit trailing everywhere when I look at chat. So I try to save it for certain times in the lives so that that I don't get sidetracked. I have. There's not much to find, unfortunately. I think that at the end of the day, like, the attention that we could give the Jordan Sofer unsolved case is something that at the end of the day will not hurt. We don't know what Richard Allen has and hasn't done. Who's to say that there are not other crimes out there that can be attributed to him? And while we want to be careful, and we can definitely look, and we can definitely highlight and bring to the forefront of people's minds those unsolved cases, because they deserve justice as well. And I think that's important. Okay, well, if there's other members that are here and I've missed you, I'm sorry. I'm going back far, and there's lots of comments. Well. Look who stopped by. The Captain Howdy. See, I highlighted this comment and I saw it. Just so you know. Pigs Fly, hello. How are you? Thank you for being here and being a member. JSD, hello. How are you? Thank you for being here and being a member. Says, in my opinion, I think it confirmed Kegan's story, got Richard, then pled down charges. Like I read, it just, man, I don't know. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing that so far as the public record goes. Like, I'm just not seeing that he got a very good deal, like, at all. Wow, you guys have been busy. Lynette, hello. My bang twin. Chaotic, hello. Hope you're well, my friend. We need to do a We need to do our late night chats with Chaotic Beauty and Crime. Have some fun. Let her hair down a little bit. The Mystery of the Outer Space Worlds. I'll be sure to catch this tomorrow. My YouTube channel is this one here, just educational vids. All right. Hope Diamond, hi. Jerry Rocks, how you doing? Lynn, GMB, Danielle, Southern Lady, Freckled Joy. I did not. Did it all by myself. Jack Green, hello. Olivia 2, hello. I'm not sure. Unlike, again, I don't know where you're written with a goal to persuade a judge. Yes. Yes. 100% yes. Natalie Bell, hello. Miss Thang 65. Hey, Tech Death Hippie, how are you? Yeah. Words like proximity are hard because they don't define exactly what they mean by that. How far is in proximity of? Very good. Yeah. Arl has said that he discussed the missing girls with a neighbor evening of the 13th. Surely searchers and police had other spoken with him. Maybe he gave his alibi and realized he incriminated himself for driving. Good to see you, Anna. I always enjoy your comments that are pretty well thought out and from what I remember seeing here of late. Otto Man, hello. Since this guy is presumed an alcoholic, he may have been pinching drugs. Oh, shorter auditing problems at the pharmacy. I mean, they're like, you're gonna be. It's very hard to pull one over on pharmacies as far as like stealing any kind of drugs. Just from the way that they are designed. Yeah, it is disturbing, Lynette. Yeah, that gets annoying. In some YouTube circles, if you question anything or are skeptical of what someone is claiming, you're a hater, and they just tell you to not watch them. Yeah. Oh, this is tougher than I thought. Hey, Anna Nana, how are you? Christy Lynn, Deb. Hello, Deb, if you're still here. Good to have ya. SD, Glenn. I do too. I believe. See how that is? It's not saying that I know, saying I believe, and just like I believe the same thing. Yeah. I would not be surprised either, Chris Gideon. Ah, me too. Yep. Tobe should go home. Oh, I see. I like Tobe. I mean, there's things, but in my opinion, I love that. Investigators were fishing with KK, trying to get him to implicate his dad. Then they dangled him as bait, and some journalists bit distraction while the real work was done. Yep. Mm-hmm. Could have. Could have. Angel Bear. Hello, Blind Squirrel. And again, I reiterate what I said earlier as far as like, it is open. They have said that it was open. And then also the possibility of someone coming forward to shore up their case against him as far as want to keep those tip lines open because maybe he did tell somebody and maybe they just dismissed it. You'd be shocked at the amount of people that will insert themselves into investigation and say they did it when they really didn't. But what divides them, and this is something that Toba talked about, of like, why he had said that they cover people, and instead of saying that people are cleared, they don't do that because for the integrity of the trial process. And I think that is wise. Is it annoying? Yeah. But is it wise? Yeah. And which one trumps which? And the other thing about Kegan Klin is, he's a known liar. He is a known liar. So anything that he says about it, you have to remember that first. And when someone tells you who they are, believe them. And he's a liar. And so why should we believe anything that he says? We don't know his motives for those lies or what is really going on or what he's thinking. And so it's like, you just have to remember he's a liar. Courtney Robb, hello. Incog, hi. How are you? Frazier, Butterfly Kisses, Tattoo You. Man. I think that is, yeah, we want to block that. All right, I'm going to go to the bottom. Georgina, hello. Audrey Abbott, hi. He really has. He really has, Incog. It has been put out differently for their defense, be it Tony Klein, Ron Logan, so forth and so on. Yeah, he's never been. That's the thing is like Murder Sheet has put a lot of emphasis on Kegan's father, but like there is nothing that suggests, nothing that is concrete, nothing that we can take to the bank on that man as far as being the what? Again, Richard Allen is charged with the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. So, there's nothing on him other than what a podcast has interjected in about him. And albeit like from family members, and I think he is a gross person, a horrendous person. Is he involved in CSAM? Not been charged with it. Is he involved with the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German? Not been charged with it. Just some that there's that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that is a huge deal. They could have been out there in that river searching for something that had to do with what's it called? The doc where he was sharing files. Can't remember what that was called, but oh, now I can't get back down to the bottom. Hi, Todd. How are you? Yes. And do you believe he is BG? Yes. Talking about Doug Carter? Yeah. Praying for absolute justice. Yep. Superintendent Carter spelled it out pretty clearly. Richard M. Allen is the murderer of Abby and Libby. My money is on ISP's top cop. Justice will be served to all involved. I can wait for justice. Hey, Galactic North. Hey, Randy. How are you? Yes. Yep. I agree. I didn't know that people were not thinking that he was. Yeah, I guess they are if they're thinking Ron Logan did it. He is the bridge guy. Okay, thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. Yep. Well, before you get too far down the Christmas decorating path, we should do a live because you'll be way too busy next month. Mean Gene. We used to have a hamster named Mean Gene. Yeah, I'm excited for the trial too. I'm just ready for justice to be meted out. Thanks. Yes, please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. That would be nice. Well, if you're talking about mine, I sure do appreciate it, Butterfly Kisses. And I think that enough time has gone by. We can save the death penalty and that thesis for a different live. Will I be going? Man, it'd be great. At least to go to I think it's going to be a longer, you got to remember that this is a high profile case and, not that they're all not important, but it brings a different, it just makes things different. And so I think it's going to be a longer, trial if it goes to trial. And yeah, I think it would be great to get to be there. And yeah, I would definitely want to do that. I think that the courtroom, is open to public access. Obviously, it's going to be limited to the size of the facility. But, one of the things that I remember when I was allowed to be in, because this was during COVID. So there was different rules during COVID about who was allowed to be present in the courtroom and who wasn't. And the judge made it a special exemption for me so that I could be in the courtroom. And I thought that was super nice of him to do. And, and he addresses the court reporters and anyone there representing any kind of media, whether you have a journalism degree or not. And I took that to heart. And it was about maintaining the integrity and telling the truth. And because in court, you don't get to record, you get to write. So you're writing down as much as you can write while retaining new information that is coming in. And that is not my forte one bit. I can't write for nothing. I'm dyslexic and I can type and do so much better typing, but writing, you can't. I'm trying to listen and write, and I'm not And I'm also trying to watch. I'm watching the person on the stand, the judge when he's talking, and the jury, and then just like scribbling along as we go. And I got home and it was like, what did I even write? I have no idea. I have no idea, because it wasn't readable. There was no words there. It was just, at the time, I'm sure I thought there was writing down words. But as far as I know, there haven't made an exception for dyslexic. Not that I'm a court reporter, but someone in that role. And so I felt like I wasn't able to do the honor of being allowed in the courtroom justice, because I couldn't use my notes to decipher like what did I just insinuate in, or confirmation bias in, and versus what I actually heard, what the truth was. So it was hard for me to be in a courtroom. I would have done way better if I had just listened with all of my senses, and because I do have a really good memory. I would have retained a lot more of that had I not been messing about with trying to write it down. But, you know, yeah, somehow this time. Yeah, they don't allow, I don't know if maybe there's an exceptions for that. I highly doubt it. I don't know. I know that in school, like, I wasn't given any of them because it was not didn't go to that, like, I didn't go to a public school. So but there are exemptions for, you know, any type of like learning disability or ADHD or anything like that. Although I don't consider dyslexia a learning disability. I think it's like something that I was blessed with. Yeah, I can't write. Yeah, I have trouble sometimes, but in the grand scheme of life, it's benefited me way more than it has hurt me, because it's given me different abilities that I would otherwise probably not have. Be able to see patterns, be able to memorize information. The list goes on, thinking outside of the box and coming up with like new ways of looking at things, while I do struggle with getting other people to understand what I'm talking about, which is definitely not helpful. When I can, you know, the dyslexia has given me, I think, the ability to do that, more so than it has hurt me, I guess I should say. Yeah. Yeah. Court reporters. Oh, Lord. They get to type, though. So that's nice. Reporters don't get, not to my knowledge, not at least not in the Newton County Court, which I would assume courts are the same. Yeah. Note taking, it's exhausting. Yeah. Oh, are you talking about the my cousin was just telling me about a case on Friday. Sorry, got thinking about Friday. Oh man, what was it? It was like the two people were getting divorced, and so the one family of like the son, like they just offed all of the family so that they could get custody of the little girl. Does this sound familiar, Butterfly Kisses? But yeah, I would have no reason to use KK to connect with the girls. I speculate that he may have encountered them in person living in Delphi. close to the school or working at CVS. Yeah, I do. Yeah. If it was there, like he could have gone there with the intent to kill anyone. Or he could have gone there with the intent to kill Libby and Abby. We don't know yet. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that this connection with KK, I agree. I agree, Todd. And look at Todd going and telling Ivy, who not in a in a aggressive manner whatsoever. She is just a person that likes to have the facts, and obviously Todd is the person that likes to have the facts too. And they quickly had an exchange, all grown up like, about where this can be found, about Doug Carter saying that Richard Allen is the BG. Just like totally awesome. You should all be able to do that. Well, thanks, Dan. Oh, I think I know who you are. Hi, Dan. Yeah, look. And then she says, thank you. Thank you, Todd. I really appreciate it. Just so mature. Isn't that just great? Okay, it was. Yeah. Yeah, it was a custody dispute, and one family plotted and killed 8 people of the other family, mother of the child, in the dispute. It's really sad, but oh, that makes sense. Yes, it does. Like, that's what she was telling me about, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've heard of this vaguely. I don't know if it was on Gray's show that I heard about it, that I've heard about it, but then when she was telling me some of the details, it's just like, holy crap, wow. Yeah, True Crime Maria. Hi, how are you? Yeah, totally. I don't know. I think that, and the thing is like, back to all the search warrants. Those are totally that is not anything. Like, having a bunch of search warrants is like, this is how you find the killer. But when you go in and search somewhere and you don't find anything that you're looking for, and like, as far as we the public, like, what can we deduce from that? And how in the hell are people deducing? Well, they're not deducing. How can people get to the point where they take a search warrant as a probable cause affidavit for an indictment? Like, those are two very different documents. They're two very different documents. And yeah, it's just very bizarre to me. It's very bizarre. And then again, with what we know about Kegan, other than what people are saying, there's just not a lot there. Like, when you really dig into it, read that interview again, read the probable cause affidavit again, and read the interrogation transcripts again, with what, like, and remember, they don't have to tell them the truth. It's just simply not true. They can lie. Even the probable cause affidavit, it never even says that he failed his polygraph. It just says that he took one and then they took him home. Like, that's it. I don't know. And there are mentions of Anthony shots, but a lot of those were Emily Ann, and that was never brought up in connection with the beginning of that probable, or that charging affidavit. It doesn't mention that in the probable cause. It doesn't mention that. It doesn't mention. It mentions Anthony shots, not Emily Ann. Like grown-ups, Lipsha. Yeah, I totally agree. %100. Yeah, totally agree. True Crime Recliner put out a super interesting short video talking about forensic sketches in relation to Delphi and in general. I'll have to check that out. He does portraits, so he would have probably some helpful information, and he can draw, and he has also said that he did sketch work for law enforcement. Yeah. You think so? I will have to do that though before I would know, but I do want to like go, in like I did that Kegan Klin like before, I never would have thought that like I would have, but I did like before this Richard Allen. So you have to shift your thoughts. And it just seems like some people just either they don't want to shift their thoughts or they want it to be so complicated that it's like everybody's involved, and then just like more and more people are involved. And it's just like this big thing. But like I did the fantasy versus reality with Kegan Klin. And at the end of it, I do say like, I don't know. I don't have any clue. Like, I just see some things with what we can see about the way that he behaved himself during that interrogation in the transcripts. And, but I don't even know what I was going to say. Thanks, True Crime Maria. Yeah, I would like to go back and review everything just in light of, that's what I was saying. So take that same fantasy, what was that called? I can never remember what those are called. Like, it's basically like a medical journal entry about serial killers and the fantasy of them, and like reapply it to Richard Matthew Allen and see how it looks. He doesn't have a digital footprint that like I could find, and then anyone that finds anything, like you have to question like, well, is that really him? It's hard to know. So, hey, Lisa. Yeah. Sensei Wackadoodle. Hello. But yeah, I just think that a very good reason also for keeping it open is just something that's simply for what they said and then what you can just reasonably deduce by what they say and not have to go wild with it. You know, there's a lot there. So it's just something to think about. And I'm going to put this petition in. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Who sent it to me? Okay, here we go. Well, they got to the 35,000 today, so it's 35,781. And it just went up as I was on here. 82 people signing it. I think that the court will recognize this. I highly doubt it, but I think that it is so important because it does show support for Carroll County, which I all think we need to be doing. And people need to just like realize that some things are more important than your opinion of one or two people in law enforcement. I have opinions too, and there's a time and a place. And but right now, I do know that we need to back Carroll County up. We need to support them instead of tearing them down. And law enforcement as a whole, like almost 6 years of dedication and sacrifice and just fortitude in the face of adversity to bring to fruition what happened on Friday, you know, and I'm thankful for each and every one of them that helped us get to that day. Yeah, it's really important. And what they did should not just be unrecognized. And regardless of, you know, how anyone feels about the particulars of this petition, this is a way that we can all show Carroll County, the families, that we support them. Like, we've got their back, and that's really what they need right now. So for that reason, I signed it. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, True Crime Maria, for always being a voice of reason and compassion. I try. Oh, it looks like whatever I shared was like too long to put into one. Hold on. Let me see if there's like a... Oh, geez. My goodness. Well, I've already signed it, but maybe it'll let me, like, it usually has like a specific sharing link. There we go. See if this one works better. Yeah, there's the link for the change.org petition. And I appreciate everybody being here and sticking through the 2 hour and 40-minute long live, and for listening to what I had to say. I hope that you all have a great, thank you, Adrian Menthorn. Thank you for your donation. I really appreciate that. That was very sweet of you. Yeah, thank you so much. And True Crime Maria says, Sharon, you've been a member for whatever is over the star. So that's awesome. Yes, that's another thing that I'm really kind of wanted to touch on, and thank you for whoever brought it up. Like, just study serial killers. Like, it is totally possible for this Richard Allen to keep his life completely separate. And there will be signs like leakage, but it is totally possible. Compartmentalization is something that psychopaths can do way better than, because you got to remember, like, what you're comparing it to is normal humans versus abnormal humans, and psychopaths are abnormal humans. That's just the bottom line. They lack the things that normal humans have, like empathy and the ability to love and put others first, and things like that. Like his family, it's just, until it is proven otherwise, there is nobody and nowhere that should just be putting up with people talking about his family and what they know and what they don't know, and that they're involved. I mean, that is just ludicrous. We don't know what we don't know, and writing on their timelines and acting like a fool is just, judge those people for that. Call those people out when you hear them and see them doing such things. Have a little compassion, and remember, we don't know what we don't know. And pretending like we do just makes us fools. Just makes you a fool. Don't be a fool. And on that note, have a great Sunday, everybody. I'll talk at you later.